right, if you will, come to order, please. This is a regularly scheduled and called Greer City Council meeting. We welcome you this evening. The meeting has been called and convened on October the 29th, 2019. Having called the meeting to order, I'd like to ask if you would please to stand with the council for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I will lead an invocation for council following that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we come before you humbly tonight, and thank you for the many blessings that you have provided for us this day. We thank you that you have brought us to this assembly this evening to exercise the calling that you have placed upon our lives for public service. We thank you for that calling and embrace it, and ask that you will give us wisdom and insight and understanding tonight as we consider the matters before our city and our citizens. Pray that we'll be mindful of all of the citizens of this community and their needs, and we ask that you guide and direct us in this meeting this evening. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
So welcome, and we have a rather large crowd this evening for one of our regularly scheduled meetings, but we also have a number of folks that have asked for the opportunity to engage in public forum. And if you were with us for the first time this evening, or maybe not familiar with the agendas for our meetings, we set a time aside at the beginning of each meeting for public forum. This is an opportunity for those folks that are citizens of our community and would like to speak to an item that is on the agenda later in the evening to be able to do that. We ask only that you be mindful of the time that you spend at the podium, particularly this evening, as we have at least 7 or 8 people that would like to speak. I would ask, if at all possible, if you can keep your comments to around 3 minutes, if possible. Also, as you come to the podium, if you would please state your name and address as a matter of record. So we'll have that on the record this evening. So with that, we'll start with our public forum. And the first person to speak this evening is Jeannie Newell. Janice, excuse me.
My name is Janice Newell, and I live at 3100 Birch Creek Road in Greer. And I'm opposed to that and all the traffic, because I feel like we're overloaded. But I'm going to get to the point. The builder, I think... Do you have a red truck? You have a red truck. I believe it's me, but... Back in the spring, winter, summer, there was a endangered species woodpecker that flew up to my house, and I watched it go back in the woods. Where are they going to build? And the guy was over on the corner of Alexander and Birch Creek Road. And I walked over there and I told him, you know, there's an endangered species in those woods. And he would not even look at me. He just looked straight forward, and he said, well, we're just doing test pilots at the ground right now. And I thought, well, maybe they looked it up and seen, but I know you're not supposed to cut the woods and do, because we have property down in the lower part. International Paper Company has this on their property that butts up with ours, and they haven't been able to cut one piece of wood. But, and I brought some pictures of the tragedy that went to my yard a couple of years ago. You can't see it. Can I give it to y'all? It was lady in her yard, upside down, and you see what we do in my yard, and kill everything. Took truck, took the power pole off. We've got so much traffic. In the last month and a half, we've had 3 poles, light poles, taken out within a quarter of a mile of our house. One, the transformer blew over, hit the ground, went over and set it fire. I've had 3 mailboxes this year taken out, people not paying attention. It's just overcrowded. Do you know what? How many people go in there and how many wrecks within the last 5 years has been on Brushy Creek Road? I would love to know that. But I'm concerned about the safety of our people. I can't even go, I don't want my grandkids out in my yard, in the front yard, because I'm scared somebody's going to come in my yard again. But I am concerned about endangered species.
Thank you, ma'am. Donna Strawhorn will be next.
My name is Donna Strawhorn, and I live at 3046 Brushy Creek Road in Greer. My concern is the housing, the subdivision, the proposed subdivision behind my home, which is, that backs up to that land where they're going to be building in that subdivision. The first meetings that was held on that situation, we were out of town, so we're kind of coming in late on that. But, and our concern is with a lot of the traffic there too. With all this building that's continuously going on Brushy Creek Road, I mean, we have all this building coming in, but nobody is showing any type of concern what we're going to do about this traffic. The concern with, okay, once these houses are built, school buses have got to come in and out of there. Where it intersects with Brushy Creek and Alexander, you can never get out of there. I mean, it doesn't matter how early you can leave to go to work or what time you're coming home from work. You cannot get in and out of these roads right there. And our driveway literally comes right off of Brushy Creek Road. And you cannot make, there's just no way of making a left turn. You're at the mercy of any bit of that traffic that's right there. You cannot make a left turn. So that's my concern with this subdivision coming in behind us on Alexander, and what can be done with the situation with the road and with maybe a traffic light there, or just something that's going to help us as the people that live right there on Brushy Creek, that we late for work, can't get home from work. And in the last 3 months, we've probably had 8 to 10 serious accidents out there, even where our road has got shut down from Alexander to the Spink Station right above us. So we have businesses and housing together right there. And the traffic is unreal, but it continues to just keep building up out there. And there's got to be a solution for the heaviness of the traffic there. So that is my huge concern with this new subdivision coming in, backing up to my land. It's going to take all the woods out of there, and I do agree with my neighbor. There is a endangered species in those woods, and I spoke with Clemson of DNR down there 2 or 3 times. They told me that it's going to come out. They didn't. I have videos of this bird landing on trees in my yard and staying there. So there is an endangered species down there, but nobody wanted to come out there and check it out, even though I was told several times that they would, but they never did. So please be considerate in some type of way of helping us out with this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ken Strawhorn.
My name is Ken Strawhorn, and I also live with that lovely lady there at 3046 Brushy Creek Road. And I could say ditto to all the traffic concerns. Personally, I also run my business out of there. I try to get in and out of there with a dump truck and a bobcat and a trailer and everything else, and it's almost impossible to get out at times. The other concern that I have is just I'm not sure what requirements the builder's gonna have as far as what kind of buffer we're gonna have between us and the new housing, assuming everything goes through. I don't know if they're gonna leave any woods or clear cut. I know that behind us, the townhomes that they're building there, they scraped it all the way up to my property line. And I'm concerned about some type of buffer between the new homes and then our home. So we still have that little bit of privacy in there as well. But that's, like I said, the whole deal with the traffic, that is a major concern, the accidents that have been there. And we just wonder what's gonna be done. And the other thing, I'm not real sure, I realize that property is in Greenville County, and I guess this whole meeting is about whether it's gonna be annexed into the city of Greer or not. So my question also, when that comes up, is it a done deal? It's gonna happen, it's just a matter if the city of Greer is gonna annex it in, or what, what stage the process is. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tim Elder.
Good evening, Tim Elder. I work out of 800 Regent Park Court. I'm actually here on behalf of the Miller and Mrs. Dawkins, who own the property, along with a brother and a sister that is at 3006 Brushy Creek Road. They have the flu. They were not able to be here. They came to the last meeting, and it got postponed until this meeting, so they apologize for not being here. But they had several things that they wanted me to share with you as council. One is, in fact, the lady just mentioned this, that years ago the road, Alexander Road, was closed going into Suber Road. And one of the things that at that time, the city of Greer had the Millers to sign and Mr. Dawkins to sign an agreement that if they agreed to close that road, then the road coming from Lismore Park going to Alexander, that Lismore Park would never have access back into Alexander. That's part of where this traffic problem's coming from, probably, because that road has been opened back up. And they want to make sure that, council was aware that that's something that they had signed with that agreement, and apparently that agreement got changed somewhere. Also, the city of Greer had asked for water to be put down the road and had to get right away for that. They also worked with the city on getting water down Alexander Road years ago. So they've got a history of working with the city. Then the city of Greer had to get sewer. They wanted to get sewer from the subdivision there that was referenced of the townhomes and get the sewer line, and they worked with that, gave an easement for the sewer line to be put into. They also worked with the city to get annexation in for Belshire subdivision. So these folks have a long history of working and being cooperative with the city of Greer, and they are asking for this to be approved tonight because it's obviously something that they need to do. This is family land that they've had in their family for generations, and they're in a situation where one of them, Mrs. Dawkins, has a husband that's very sick. She's had the flu, actually, but she was not able to get help for somebody to watch her husband so she could come tonight. But these family needs, they need to, you guys to approve this. Because of one, they've had a long history of working with the city, and their feeling is it's time for the city to, work with them and to try to help them. Thank you so much.
Last name is Godfrey. I'm not sure if I can make out the first name.
First name is Elisha. Elisha Godfrey, 445 Alexander Road. I'm here tonight. This is my third meeting, one with zoning, and my second with you guys, about the same topic, the R12 annexation and zoning of property on 3006 Brush Creek Road. Zoning did recommend R-15, so I guess it would take a supermajority tonight to overturn that, and it seems, with the traffic we're talking about today, that would be a reach. There are several neighbors that I talked to who couldn't come tonight for various reasons, but one is they just didn't know. So the signs went back up Friday afternoon at about 4, and I called the city on Monday morning. So several of my other neighbors already had things they had to do tonight. Some of them work in ministry, and they had to be there. One of them was out of the country. So Margie, my neighbor up the street, has kept notes through this past several months since the last meeting to try and share some of the things she found. And a lot of this is about wrecks on Brushy Creek Road. There have been 5 major wrecks on Brushy Creek Road in the last 4 months. So 723 knocked out a power pole, 827 knocked a power pole in half and burned a car with a broken off power pole, 9-5, same thing, hit another power pole and broke it, 926, power outage on Brushy Creek from another power pole hit. And then on 1010, finally they hit the pole on the corner of Alexander and Brushy Creek. But all of these accidents have happened between the Spinks at Suber and Brushy Creek and Alexander and Brushy Creek. I mean, that's a phenomenal amount of accidents in about a half a mile. This morning, my wife put up a motion sensor camera on Alexander Road. I live on Alexander Road. And we counted the cars from 7:48, and we probably should have started at 7, but it was a little bit dark for setting up a camera. And then ended at 5:48 because we had to get to this meeting. In that time, there were 588 cars. That's an average of a car every 2 minutes on it. It was 588? What was it? 288, I'm sorry, I did 600 minutes, so that's how I got 600 minutes in those 10 hours. So roughly a car every 2 minutes on a 16-foot road with no center lane and no appreciable shoulder. And now we're talking about putting 40 more homes, so let's say 120 more cars on this road. I know that as the council, it was easy to say, well, these people want to annex into the city, and we want to have them, and that's a DOT road, and that's a county road. But at what point does it become irresponsible? Because you have the plans now, but you know they want to put that many new homes on Alexander Road, Brushy Creek Road. And DOT is not going to step up to the plate. Greenville County is not required to step up to the plate until there's 90 homes in a subdivision. So who is going to protect your constituents? They're going to be, if you annex them, they're yours. How many more accidents do there need to be before someone says, look, the Brushy Creek corridor needs a break until we do responsible road work. We need traffic lights and we need an emergency lane all the way down through there. It's gotten to be simply insane. I don't know, since you guys live in Greer, you probably go up and down Brushy Creek Road. If you go up and down Brushy Creek Road between 5 and 6, on Alexander Road today, when we were watching cars from 5 to 5:48, it averaged 1 car per minute on this little bitty 16-foot road. And you'll hear from my neighbor Alan as well, who's had a problem with just nonstop traffic on this little bitty road. So I would encourage you to be responsible in your zoning and annexation and say, hey, enough's enough. It's just too tight right here on Brushy Creek Road until we get either DOT or the county to address these problems with our traffic. Thank you.
Laura Allen is next.
Laura Allen. I live at 38 Meadow Springs Lane. So I'm speaking really on the same issue that everyone else is, the annexation of the property at Alexander and Brushy Creek. And, well, first I wanted to point out as well something that someone else mentioned about it being hard to get information and access to information about these meetings and things like that. I'm only 22 and I didn't have a ton of knowledge about this stuff, and so I had to do a lot of research on my own, a lot of emailing, to even find out that I could come and speak about these things. So that definitely is an issue. and it's probably stopping a lot of other people who would raise their voice from being here. But mostly I would like to point to the same concerns that other people have. I'm a huge environmentalist, and so obviously I take great concern with the fact that we're talking about imposing on the territory of an endangered species. But the main problem that I came here for is really the issue over the congestion. For me personally, I used to take Brushy Creek Road to East North Street to Pleasantburg, where I work every day. And that went from, in a matter of months, from a 20-minute commute to 45, and it's 9 miles. And it was just ridiculous. So now I take a longer route, mileage-wise. I have to go the whole way to Wade Hampton and go the whole way down Wade Hampton to Pleasantburg, simply because you can't drive on Brushy Creek Road. That's where the whole bottleneck is. It's not further down East North Street, and it's not Pleasantburg. The bottleneck is on Brushy Creek Road, right in this area. And I feel like it's not being taken seriously, which maybe tells me maybe you all don't drive on that road on a daily basis, but I would challenge you, if you would like, to try to drive on that road at 7, 8, 9 in the morning, or at 4, 5, 6 in the evening. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so, quite frankly, I think it's preposterous that this is even being considered, along with all these other developments that are already being put in place and are in place on Brushy Creek Road, because I think there's no consideration for the livelihood of people who currently live there. And I think we're hitting a point where we're prioritizing some sort of monetary gain over the livelihoods of the people who already live here and are just trying to get to work and back safely in a decent amount of time, get home to their families, go on with the rest of their lives. And it's gotten to the point where I just feel like it is, to use the last speaker's word, irresponsible to continue to approve these continuous developments with no regard for the livelihood of the people that already live here, when you are responsible for serving the people that currently live here. And I feel like it's not being taken seriously at all, not nearly as serious as it should be, and that's why I feel like if you drive on these roads on a daily basis, as I do, you would understand the seriousness of the situation with the congestion.
Thank you. And Alan Carruthers? Alan?
Yes. I'm Alan Carruthers. I'm at 423 Alexander Road, Nona. Thank you for letting me speak. I've been here before. I'm not going to sit up here and do the same thing. The traffic on Brushy Creek Road is pretty astounding. I've been there since 1989, 88. And it's just skyrocketed. Off Alexander Road, I can't turn left. I turn right, go to speed, turn right, and go back the other direction. As they quoted, we've had like 5 telephone poles knocked out. The traffic is just, it's really pretty it's outstanding how bad it is there. And that's my word. We got a beautiful community. People want to move here. And I just urge you to look at the development and do it in a mindful manner. That the density, I worry about the townhomes right there at Sphinx that are being built, and as they build them, they sell them, and then on down as I was coming here at Praise Cathedral across the street from that's another set of townhomes there. So we got density problems because we're developing very densely, and then you don't have 3-bedroom townhouse and condo, and don't have 2 cars there, so you can do the math. The cars just expand exponentially, and that's the worry is the traffic there. I was talking with the gentleman. I'm not sure where the people are going. They're not going to developments on Brushy Creek. There is a thoroughfare. Something's happened in the past years. So it's pretty outstanding, the amount of traffic, the number of accidents. About 6 months ago, there was an SUV turned upside down right at Bellship. It's just dangerous. We worry about our kids and the development stuff. So I'd urge you in this thought process, and I own a substantial amount of land on Brushy Creek, Alexander there, and I'm here to say if don't develop a mindful manner. I shouldn't be able to obviously any other development because I've got all this money in this property, but we need to protect our community and develop in a mindful manner, and because we got a wonderful, beautiful community here in Greer. So I just urge you in the development to keep that in the forefront of your mind and your thoughts and development in a mindful manner. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We thank those that have spoken this evening. We will move through the first part of our agenda. It's an item of old business, so it will come up for too much longer if you care to join us for the rest of the meeting. Council will move to the minutes of the council meeting held on October the 8th, 2019. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Clifford?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. We quarterly try to take an opportunity to recognize folks that have met milestones in their employment with the city, and we have a rather full slate this evening of folks that we would like to recognize for their service and time with the city. And I would like to ask the administrator, if he would, to join me here in the front as we take the opportunity to recognize those folks as they celebrate anniversaries with the city. Let me go ahead and read the resolution, which states that this is a resolution recognizing and commending City of Greer employees. And whereas the City of Greer endeavors to recognize and reward its dedicated and faithful employees, Josh Green has served in the Police Department for 5 years. Philip Henry has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 5 years. Kathy Hills has served in the Municipal Court Department for 5 years. Joe Holbrooks has served in the Building and Development Standards Department for 5 years. Christopher Jinka has served in the Police Department for 5 years. Chase Raper has served in the Fire Department for 5 years. Lindsay Schaefer has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 5 years. Robbie Bayek has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 10 years. Vicki Adams has served in the Administration Department for 15 years. Carol Michael has served in the Police Department for 15 years. Randall Hibb has served in the Fire Department for 15 years. Carl Howell has served in the Fire Department for 15 years. Brandon McMahon has served in the Building and Development Standards Department for 15 years. Marty Knight has served in the Parks and Recreation Department for 105 years. 25 years. And Aaron Presley has served in the Police Department for 25 years. Whereas these employees have served in a distinguished professional manner, now we have therefore resolved that the City Council of the City of Greer, South Carolina, in a meeting duly assembled, wishes to officially recognize and commend these employees for their distinguished service and dedicated service for which they have been performed. Be it resolved that the City of Greer hereby rewards these dedicated employees with a certificate of appreciation and an administrative day off with pay. If you will join us in front when we call your name, Joshua Green. Not with us this evening. Philip Henry. Just go to the head, right, you would. Joe Holbrooks. Chase Raper. Lindsay Schaefer. Robin Bayou. Vicki Adams. I was gonna say it'll be a lot before he gets here, but he's on his way. Brandon McMahon. Marty Knight. Not here, not here. Eric Preston. Eric and I had sworn in 5 new police officers. Give these folks a round of applause. Council, contained in your report this month is, as always, the departmental reports are there for you to review. Details in regards to the different departments are available in the report, as well as from the department head and/or the city administrator. Susan Howell joins us this evening to give us our financial activity report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to start out with the general fund. These are financials as of September the 30th, 2019. The year-to-date revenue was $1,806,000. The year-to-date expenses are $6,113,000. And if you'll look at the dashboards where we compare the actual to the benchmarks, we do have an overall negative variance of $771,000. But I would explain that's predominantly due to a budgeted transfer to the paving fund that we historically do in February or March. And so it's just the timing's a little different. But we know we got the project expenses for the Brookshire Road improvements. So we wanted to make sure we had the funds available when those expenses started coming in this month. So that leads us to a cash balance of $11,260,000. Moving to the hospitality fund, the year-to-date revenue is $628,198. That is 2% over budget. The expenses are $27,173, and the cash balance in the hospitality fund is $1,809,821. Finally, the stormwater fund, the year-to-date revenue is $18,330. The expenses are $281,000, and our cash balance is $1,378,396. So a brief summary of September free cash.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, questions or comments? Thank you. Appreciate it. Ruthie Helms is going to join us this evening as she brings us the building and development standard highlights, and we look forward to those numbers. It is always exciting to hear new numbers from Ms. Helms, so the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before we get started with the report, I would like to introduce the newest member of our team, our new city planner, Ashley Potty. And Ashley has over 12 years' experience as a planner, and we are happy to welcome her to the team Greer. So it is an honor tonight to go over the activity of Building and Development Standards Department. I will refer to the September report that you have in your agenda, and very similar to previous reports, the monthly activities of our boards and commissions are provided for you. So far this year, the Board of Zoning Appeals has had a total of 16 cases, the Planning Advisory Committee 27, and the Planning Commission has heard 50 cases. Activity is steady in comparison to previous years. We have added 2 new sections to your report. One highlights some of the day-to-day activities for planning and zoning, and 2 is a new graph that shows the number of illegal signs that have been abated along our roadways. We had 302 signs that were removed in the month of September. Code enforcement has attended numerous neighborhood meetings, and we continue to beautify our area. In 2018, we ended our year with 4,910 cases. This year, through September, the number of cases completed is 5,393. That's a total of 483 more cases than last year, with still 3 months remaining. As far as new construction, we have ended the month of September with $217 million in total construction cost. Based on the number of recent plan reviews as well as new subdivision approvals, we are predicting a heavy increase in permits between now and the end of the year. As you are aware, last year we set an all-time record with 527 housing starts. This year we exceeded that number in September with 532. Again, with 3 months to go, I can tell you that we are predicting October to be a very strong month. We have completed 25,180 inspections. Our staff has done an amazing job managing the heavy workload. We would like to ask that you let us know if you would like to see any changes to these reports, if we could provide you with additional information that may be helpful to you. And at this time, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Council?
Ruthie, you mentioned that y'all are picking up a lot of signs. Do we have any type of policy or where we reach out to people that are putting up the signs, if there's repeat offenders, or are there penalties associated with that?
If we can catch them, that's the difficult task. We will make a sweep and come back on Monday. They put them out over the weekend, so we have been able to catch a few in the action, and at that point we could issue them a ticket, but it's very difficult to find out who's actually putting them out. I mean, they're advertising, but it's typically a worker that, has been hired to go out and place the signs.
So you can't ticket the person paying for the advertising?
I don't think that we could, because that would be a legal question that we would have to look into. I think we would actually have to ticket the person who's putting the signs in the right of way.
It's similar to a police department issue where we may have a traffic violation, more specific to parking. You have to be able to identify the driver to the vehicle. You can't just ticket the vehicle in a parking situation for illegally parking in a handicap spot is an example of that. We run into the exact same situation with the signage, is that the offense is by the person who is posting the sign. That is who is in violation. And we've received legal opinion in the past whether or not they could be summoned to municipal court. Our legal counsel, our city attorney, has advised us that he does not believe that that would hold in municipal court, and has advised us against trying to do that. And so, it falls to us identifying who is physically putting the sign up.
Is that is the legal opinion based on the ordinance? And if so, should we revisit that ordinance?
That's a very good question. I think we can pose that back to them. It is not my understanding that it's a matter of the ordinance. The ordinance says that it is illegal for the signs to be there. The opinion to the applicability of who could be ticketed or who could be fined or summoned, as I understand that, is relative to case law under state statute. But again, I will confirm that if there is any language amendments that we could make that may give us some additional avenue in that, for us to pursue that.
Yeah, we probably need to look at that.
We can do that.
Definitely research.
Other questions for Ms. Helms? We thank you for all you and your staff are doing. We appreciate it much. Thank you. Mr. Grant joins us this evening. Mr. Grant is our city engineer, and he is bringing us an update on the Brookshire Road paving project.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. Just wanted to recap this recent Brookshire Road Improvement Project. Mr. Greer asked me to give you guys an update. Just where is it? Let's go over that. Brookshire Road is located between Cyclona 101 and Victor Hill Road. The southern end serves Gateway Industrial Park, and the north end is a mix of residential and commercial, and it is situated between the Inland Port and BMW. The particulars of the north end is approximately 2,100 feet long, and it's approximately 16 feet wide, and the shoulders have been damaged by passing truck traffic. You can see in the picture, there's an 18-wheeler on the road, and the truck is pulled over in the driveway to let it pass. The construction process that was used for improvement is known as full depth reclamation, or others call it CMRB, or cement modified reclaimed base. Basically, that means the old asphalt and the base materials are pulverized and mixed with cement and water and compacted to produce a strong, durable base. It is considered a green construction process, and some widening is possible with full depth reclamation. Some before pictures, so you can note the damaged shoulders on both sides of the road. And then on the left, this is during construction. The left, the big machine, and I don't know what they call that thing. I forgot the name of it, but it's a big machine, and it's already made one pulverizing pass. And a truck has spread cement, which is the gray powder, on top of the mixture. And on the right side, the right picture is a picture of the big machine in the front there, and it's making a second pass, and it mixes the cement into the subgrade. And then the orange tractor is the sheet foot roller, and that is compacting the mixture as they go along. Once it's all mixed in and compacted, they spread tack and pea gravel down, and you drive on it for 5 to 15 days while the cement mixture cures. And then after curing, the subgrade is paved. In this case, we had a 2-inch surface put down, and here's some after photos. And here's a before and after, again, 16 feet wide, with damaged shoulders, and then afterwards 22 feet wide. You can see there's plenty of room for vehicles to pass. As part of the job, we did a truck count on September the 11th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We only counted trucks, not cars. We started off counting both, but it was so busy out there, we said drop back, so we said only count trucks. There were 246 total trucks in that 8-hour period. 182 trucks, or 74%, came or went from South Carolina 101 end. 64 trucks, or 26%, came or went to the Victor Hill Road end. A bit of a surprise was we only counted 19 trucks, or 8%, passing through or cutting through. So we thought there would be more, but it's only 19 trucks. Over 50% of the trucks went to this one business at 545 Brookshire. That's where the red star is. Originally, we thought trucks were cutting through to BMW, but it turns out 92% of the trucks had a destination on Brookshire Road. So for now, we don't think there's a cut-through problem. Mr. Driggers did make contact with a representative from the Inland Port, and they assured us that their drivers are instructed to use South Carolina 80 back and forth between the port and BMW, so our study seems to support that. Since the cut-through traffic is lower than we expected and is low, we don't see a real need for any traffic calming at this point. But overall, the project went very well, and this was just an update for your information, and I'll take any questions.
Mr. Grant, have we had any conversation with the company that is producing the largest amount of trips on that road?
That's what we have now.
Okay. I wonder if that might be a strategic move in terms of where they're going, and might not 80 be a better route for them to do it than cutting through on Brookshire?
The issue is their destination, and they're going to a warehouse on that road. And it's a BMW warehouse, so the traffic is coming from the plant. They store racking materials, racking equipment there, and so that equipment is constantly being transported in and out of the warehouse back to the plant.
So they're coming off the 101 side?
Yes.
74% came from 101.
Oh, okay.
74% came from the 101 end
Oh, okay.
into Brookshire. 26% came from the Hill end. And 92% total were destinations on Brookshire, so only 8% passed through.
So they're just going back out of the park, is all they're doing then? Okay. All right. Others? Thank you, sir. Appreciate the timeliness of that project as well, too. We thank you that you were able to get that completed before the weather changed. Thank you.
For the money.
What did we wind up spending on that project, Mr. Grant?
I don't have all the bills, it's some partial bill, but our budget was $159,581.
160?
Yes, sir.
$1,000.
We got a partial bill, we just paid about $70,000 at this point.
All right, thank you. Mr. Driggers, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple of items to make council aware of. We are currently enrolled and participating in our classification and compensation study for our employee group. That is taking place now. There are a series of meetings that will occur with our respective departments, and then opportunity for employees to take a look at their job questionnaire. So again, that process has begun, and we are anticipating having results of that for you when you gather after the first of the year for your annual planning retreat. But it is underway, and we're starting to gather data on that at this time. You should have received information concerning our Know Before cyber training. As we have communicated in the past, one of our biggest concerns, one of our largest vulnerabilities is if we were to receive a cyber attack. This typically happens through email messages, erroneously responding to, clicking on, opening, forwarding virus messages, infected messages. Our Know Before training is a process that we participate in with all of our employee group to make sure that we are, one, giving them relative up-to-date information concerning what those cyber threats are and ways that we can prevent those. When in doubt, we always encourage do not open the file. If you're not confident of where that file is coming from, if you're not confident of its safety, if you have any concerns about the security of that, that we stop that process. So we do ask that all of our group is involved in that training, and so again, you should have received some recent information about that. So we ask that you would participate in that as well. We'll have some statistical information on that as we're wrapping up this go around. I think, Jim, if I'm correct, December 10th is the expiration that we're trying to get all of that completed by. And so we're a little sluggish this go around in getting things kicked off, but it's necessary, and we ask everyone's participation. So all of 10 Greer is being asked to do that. Leaf season starts here relatively soon. Information has been distributed to the community. Equipment is ready. Personnel is ready. So as your constituents start to engage in placing leaves out for collection, we're prepared and ready to do that on our collection schedule as well. As I mentioned earlier, you have a council planning retreat coming up after the first year, typically in February. So we are asking that you would take a look at your calendars to see if there are conflicts for you. We are in the process of scheduling that now. We would ask of you, if you have ideas, suggestions, issues or concerns relative to the format of that conference, please share that with us. We want to make sure that we are scheduling those on a day of the week, time of day that is convenient for you. So we know that sometimes certain times are better than others, but we need to know if those conflicts exist for you. Again, we're looking in February to be able to do that. Ultimately, Mayor Danner will select that date, but we want to do that in concert to avoid any conflicts that any of you would have on that. We did have our bid opening earlier today relative to our garage project. I really don't have any major information to share with you at this point. We opened those bids at 1 o'clock today. We have a series of information that is due to us over the next couple of days relative to those bids. But I will share with you that bids ranged from $5,854,900 for the base bid, and they range from that amount up to $6,696,000 as well. So a pretty large range. All of the bids, we received 5 bids in total. All of the bids were within the amount that we were hoping for or anticipating for those to come in. So we're well within budget in those bid amounts. So again, we are evaluating and reviewing those bids now. I do anticipate bringing a report to you at your next meeting on November the 12th, I believe it is. On November the 12th, we will bring that as an agenda item to you with a recommendation once we've tabulated all and verified all the information in the bids. But again, we're very, very pleased with the number of bidders that we had in this project, and we're also very, very pleased at the amounts that they came in at. So I think ultimately, as we would recommend, and you would ultimately select a general contractor for this project, we're ready to move forward with that. So very, very thankful for that. Also want to make you aware that our employee appreciation breakfast that we do annually is scheduled for Friday, December the 13th. I will send you a calendar reminder for that as well. There'll be some other activities taking place in December that we want to share with you, but at this point, if you could place that on your calendar, we enjoy bringing in all of our team members for that appreciation breakfast, and we hope that you will be able to attend as well. Again, December 13th, a Friday morning. And with council's permission, I would like to ask council to consider adding one item in executive session this evening. There would be no action requested of that item following, but I would like to ask council to consider adding a contractual matter concerning CSX Railroad. And do we have another contractual on there? Economic development. Contractual is under 30-470A4 for contractual. So we would like to ask your permission for me to share information with you in executive session on that item. That concludes my report. Certainly glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Council will proceed with the meeting. Council, as we announced several meetings ago, we have an upcoming vacancy on our Elections Commission. Anna Davis has submitted her resignation from the Election Commission. Her current term will expire December the 31st, 2024. Having notified us of her pending resignation, I have notified council that we were open to accept resumes and applications for that position, and I believe Mr. Airwood is prepared this evening to nominate someone for the open position on the Elections Commission. Mr. Airwood?
Yes, sir, thank you. I'd like to nominate Miss Linda Parr. She's been a resident of Greer for many years. As you can see in her biographical sketch, she's active with the community ministries and the chamber. She contacted me, it's back in the summer, wanting to know ways that she could participate within the city. And at the time, we really didn't have anything, but we took her information. Tammy took her information, and I told her we'd call her back. Sure enough, we had this opening, so we made contact. Tammy went over all of the requirements and what has to be done, the educational process, being sworn in, so on and so forth. And she is ready to serve, so I think she'll serve well.
That comes as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Council, on votes for boards and commissions, if we have multiple people that apply or are nominated, there is a process for handling that. Tonight, we only have one. We do have a motion and a second in that regard. Any additional comments or questions in regards to Ms. Parr's service on the Election Commission? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council will move to items of the old business, the first of which is the second and final reading of ordinance number 20-2019. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Laverne Miller, Darlene Dawkins, Denise Barrett, and Jeffrey Thompson, located at 3006 Brushy Creek Road, by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of R12 for said property. Mr. McMahon is going to join us for additional information in this regard. Let me give some overview or at least insight into the process of the reading of an ordinance for annexation. I know that there was at least one question about how we would undertake that this evening, and I believe there was someone else that said they had some difficulty in terms of finding out about that process. The process comes to us as a request from either the owner or representative of the owner of the property for our consideration. It comes to us for 2 readings. We have had one in this regard and held the second until this point tonight. The action that we'll take tonight is simply in regards to the annexation of the property. There will still be some oversight, particularly in regards to the planning process that will take place. And those meetings will be posted and noted. There is a time for you to engage in that and have comment in regards to that. And so this is a process that, as you can see, even looking at our agenda tonight, we will, in the process of both old business and new, visit a number of annexations on any given night. So our business this evening before us is the second and final reading of ordinance number 20-2019. Having been some time before it has come to us again, I'm going to ask Mr. McMahon if he would to give us an overview of where we are in this process. I typically ask when this comes to us as a matter of new business, if the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property is with us. So if there are answers that, or questions that may be beyond the knowledge of our staff, if they are willing to respond, that they can. We may or may not be in a position to do that this evening, but by show of hand, is the owner of the property or a representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Thank ma'am. Okay. Mr. McMahon, second reading of ordinance number 20-2019, an overview, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Public hearing was held for ordinance 20, 2019 on June 17th. Planning Commission made a recommendation of R15, single-family residential, instead of the requested R12. The ordinance before you tonight, staff is asking for a few amendments. We're asking to make an amendment to the original acreage of 13.67 and change that to 14.04. The applicant added .37 acres from an adjacent parcel.
Would you repeat, please, sir?
Yes, sir. The original acreage was 13.67, and we are requesting to amend that to 14.04. The applicant added .37 acres from an adjacent parcel. Currently, the property line goes to the center line of the road on Alexander. We have added language in the ordinance also to exclude the right-of-way and road of Alexander, as it does not meet city standards. These two requests are the amendments are within the ordinance itself. You will have to make a determination on the actual zoning. Before you tonight, it still lists the original R12 zoning. So if it is your desire to go to the R15, I just wanted to make you aware of that. An amendment would need to be made. That's all the information I have at this time, but I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
What was the prior zoning for Greenville County, what city county?
Within Greenville County, this is zoned R12.
So it would allow for anything that they want to build on, what uses would?
It would allow for single-family residential. Lots would need to be 12,000 square foot lots. The issue, I believe, that the reason they're wanting to come into the city is, of course, for the sewer access. If not, they would have to put in septic tanks, which would reduce their availability for the number of lots they would have.
Could they put trailers on it?
No, sir. Well, within the county, I do not know. I do not know of their ordinance. I don't want to speak to the county ordinance.
At R15, what's the approximate number of units that we're looking at?
They'll have 42 units that they're able to put on this lot.
Do we have any information at this point, maybe not, of ingress and egress?
We have received a preliminary plat that will go to Planning Commission on November 19th. We will have a Planning Advisory Committee meeting on November 7th. That is with city staff, CPW, kind of all the players in the area. That kind of deals more of an internal meeting to get everyone together in the room to discuss the project with the applicant. Right now, they're projecting the access on Alexander within 100 feet of the stop sign at Alexander and Brushy Creek.
That would require approval by the county, though, since it's a county road, correct?
It would be a county road, and it would require their approval for a curb cut.
Additional acreage, usable or green space, or a combination, do you know?
They're adding that into the open space. The .37 acres would be open space.
What are the buffering requirements? There was a question about that, I believe.
Yes, sir, there was a question about that. Along, I believe, the gentleman's property and around the exterior of this property, there is a 25-foot, basically they're going to leave it undisturbed. So within that 25 feet, those trees should stay within that area, going around the entire property. There will be landscape requirements along the roadway as long as the external sidewalks. Currently, the preliminary plat does not show that, but these are usually items we address at the PAC meeting. So before it goes to the Planning Commission, we'll have that stuff addressed on that before it gets to them.
And I heard the issue several times about the endangered species. I mean, have we dealt with anything like that before where a project's been reviewed, or what's...
Not to my knowledge, that is the first that I've heard of this, was tonight at this meeting. I don't believe it was discussed at the June meeting.
What was the woodpecker? What was it?
Bird issue.
No, what was the endangered woodpecker? Well, you don't have to bring it up. Yeah. But what kind is that?
I think that's a better issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Council, there are,
It's a red property with that.
thank you.
And I told the one that was in the spring about it. And he left it. He was
Everybody's laughing, like, that's funny, I'm sorry. I don't understand why everybody's laughing.
I'm sorry, you're out of order.
All right, let's refocus here on the amendment, the amendments. Council, if you would wish to make a motion in regards to the second reading, planning staff has made note of 3 potential changes to the amendment, changing the acreage to reflect the amount of acreage now, which would be 14.404, reducing or excluding, that which is from the center line to the edge of the right-of-way in a county road, and also changing the zoning from R12 to R15. All for your consideration as we look at second and final reading of ordinance number 20-2019. Information and update in regard from Mr. McMahon is complete. We are still in a point of discussion. We will entertain a motion if someone would like to make that in regards to any or all 3 of the recommendations from staff.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion and that we accept the additional acreage, the R15, and the leaving the road as a county road because it does not meet our specifications.
Entertain a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion now at this point. Questions? Comments?
I'd like to make one comment. Thanks for everyone who has come out and been involved. Regardless of decisions we make, I appreciate everyone who comes out and is involved because there's too few people who are involved. Your concerns about traffic need to be taken on to the county level and the state level. That's the only thing I can say about that, but the state and the county need to be working on that as well.
And I'd just like to state for the record and state for people that we take what we do serious, and we're not robots, and sometimes people do smile and say things, but it's not that you're laughing or poking anybody. That's just what happens in the course of business. We take what we do very seriously, and we've been doing it for years and years and years, not for people who come in for just one meeting and just see what's happening just in that moment, but we do take it seriously. What we do with planning and all the other things that'll go along with that subdivision. I take it seriously too that mobile homes could be placed out there on that property and you wouldn't have any control at all over it. This is not something that we take lightly. I just want to say that.
Regarding the traffic, I would just say it would not be a bad idea to talk to the people in Columbia and Greenville, because I did, and I actually gave them a plan for your road, for Alexander to put in turning lanes, and told them about the urgency of that entire road. So they're well aware of it. They just need to get feedback.
Additional comments? Questions? Discussion? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
No.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council will have the second and final reading of ordinance number 36-2018. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Bobby Safford located at 5204 West Wade Hampton Boulevard by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of C3 for said property. Mr. McMahon?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Public hearing was held on October 21st. Planning Commission has made the recommendation to approve the requested C3 zoning request. That is all the information I have at this time, but we have to answer any questions you may have.
Council will entertain a motion to receive ordinance number 36-2018.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Comments? Discussion? Questions? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Second and final reading of ordinance number 37-2018. This is an ordinance to amend the City of Greer Land Development Regulations by amending Article 8, roadway classification and design standards, Section 8-1A, roadway classifications by adding subsection 3. Mr. Grant joins us at this time. Any updates or additional information in regards to ordinance number 37-2018?
No, sir.
On that recommendation, do I hear a motion to receive?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion. Question? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Last item of old business is second and final reading of ordinance number 38-2019. This is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a deed with regard to the Sycamore Greer LLC downtown development and other matters related thereto. Any additional new information in that regard, Mr.
No,
Rivers?
sir. No new information.
No new information comes from staff in that regard. I'll entertain a motion to receive 38-2019.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion, second. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council will move to items of new business this evening, the first of which is the first reading of ordinance number 39-2019. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Council Section 2-37, Meetings, Organizational, Regular Executive Sessions, to state the first meeting of the newly elected council for induction into office shall be held at the first council meeting in January. Mr. Grigger's information in regards to ordinance number 39-2019.
Yes, sir. Our current ordinance says that a newly elected member of council shall be sworn into office on the first business day following the first of the year. And that's been our ordinance for a number of years. However, our practice has been primarily because we typically will have incumbent council members who receive the oath of office going forward, and that has traditionally been held at the first council meeting in January. We inquired through Mr. Duggan, our city attorney, whether or not this was a matter of state statute involving election law, and his response was no, that it is a matter of preference to the local body. And so, following more of our tradition of holding that oath of office at the first scheduled meeting of council, we are recommending that your consideration of an amendment to the ordinance to that, to conduct that in that fashion.
Council, you hear the recommendation to the first reading of ordinance number 39-2019. Do I hear a motion to receive?
Second.
Motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion. I will add to that as well that Ms. Duncan and I had a lengthy conversation about this. I will admit that I couldn't remember. So we talked about the fact that the way it was now, we would probably be better served if we chose to move to a time which seemed most natural for us to do that, which would be our first called meeting in the new year for those folks. And so I would recommend it as well, too. Others? Questions or comments in that regard?
Or you could just leave it at working day and just tell everybody not to do any work. First meeting in January.
Because in this case now, that would be like, an additional 11 days of no work.
There you go. That's after the holidays.
Yeah,
Takes a
it's
while
after
to
the
get back in the
holidays.
swing.
That's right.
I know you can talk about giving no extra vacation.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, we have the first reading of ordinance number 40-2019. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of properties owned by Sycamore Greer LLC located at 112 Main Street and Jason Street from S1 to C1. Mr. McMahon, information in that regard, sir?
Yes, sir. Staff is requesting to rezone the two parcels in ordinance 40-2019 from S1 to C1 Central Business District. The two parcels are a part of the hotel and parking garage project, and these properties will all be combined together. Purposes of this to ensure that we don't have split zoning on the property, and also to ensure that we can get the permits out the door as quick as we can. We have made this request in some of our reviews, so this is one of our concerns, so we are bringing this before you to have this property rezoned to C1. Planning Commission held a public hearing on October 21st and recommended approval of the C1 zoning request. That's all the information I have at this time. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is the owner of the property, by show of hand, is the owner of the property a representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Thank you. Let the record indicate no. Upon recommendation of staff, do I hear a motion to receive ordinance number 40-2019?
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any additional comments? Questions? Discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Council, in executive session, we have 4 matters to consider now. I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn, or we vote to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we add an item to executive session tonight. It's a contractual matter pertaining to CSX Railroad, and it's allowed by state statute, section 30-4-70A4.
And that comes in addition to a motion to go to consider an economic development matter pertaining to Project Carl is allowed by that same statute. Another economic development matter pertaining to Project Homecoming is allowed by the same state statute. And then a personnel matter pertaining to the Building and Development Standards Department as allowed by state statute 30-4-70A1. So we have 4 to consider this evening, council. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session? We got the motion. We got a motion now. Yeah. That comes as a motion from me. All right.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
Yes, we got it.
Have a motion and a second. Anybody else want to add to the confusion here? Ms. Duncan?
It's totally confusing because he made a motion.
Well, I just figured we would add the item around. How are you going to do it? I don't think
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, in executive session, we have considered 4 matters: an economic development matter pertaining to Project Carl, an economic development matter pertaining to Project Homecoming, a personnel matter regarding the Building and Development Standards Department, and a contractual matter in regards to CSX Railroad. We've taken no action in regards to any of the 4 projects. Do I hear a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, we stand adjourned.